Thanks to the HealthTech Activator team. The third webinar in the QMS series, and thank you so much, Alexander, for joining. On Alexander's side, it's actually 11 p.m. yesterday night. I have to be careful what I say. Okay. Alexander, we're in your future, but we can tell you whatever I had for yourself for this. Okay, let's start with today's session. Let's have a look into the objects which will guide us for today. Today it's about understand how 13.5 can create value for the business, learn approaches to implement 13.5 efficiently, and the most important thing is apply practical risk techniques to keep your QMS efficient. Alexander might now tell us why 13.5 is a growth tool and not just compliance.
Could you? Yeah, perfectly. Basically, it helps with regulatory approvals, and it's a basis for kind of organizing your company, and it's 13.5 is expected by most regulators, not only the listed countries here, but it's a worldwide standard, which is the basis for quality system, for management system, basically, which is how your company is set up and how your company is organized around the goal of reaching good quality products. And if you achieve that, of course, you have the lower cost of poorer quality. You have the competitive advantage because in most tenders, it is either required or it is a bonus plus to have 13.485. And of course, investors believe much more in you if you have 13.485. And no, it's yeah. And it opens markets and helps you develop new products.
Okay, today is we're talking about the risk-based approach, and I'm sure I have came across as much misunderstanding as Alexander, but let me tell you the story. The 13.5 requires here to apply a risk-based approach, but the question is, what does it mean actually? What is a risk-based approach and where to apply? So, for example, a risk-based approach is controlling your processes you have in your quality management system, which means processes with higher risk needs tighter control. And this is exactly where risk and efficiency meet by scaling your controls, scaling audits, records, everything you have in your quality management system. But to do so, you need to understand what this means exactly and how to apply. So, but let's go on here because these two sentences in 4.1.2 burn this in your mind when you're a quality person, that are actually the backbone of your quality management system. So when you have a look, what this means is we can talk about a reactive quality management system, or we can talk about a proactive quality management system. To be fair, when I start to work with startups, I'm focused on working with startups. Most of the quality management systems are set up really as a reactive quality management system. And the reason for this is because there's a missing experience. People don't know what they don't know. So, and what you do over time, I don't expect any startup to start with a proactive QMS. It would be a dream. And I think Alexander would probably add to this. But the important thing is when you start, just set up a quality management system and develop into a proactive quality management system. So, which means say that you are able to integrate quality in your daily work. Say that you audits are not seen as revealing issues in a bad way. See audits as a tool you can use in your company to improve. And to start or to do so, you need to set up a quality management system. And when you set up a quality management system, you need to consider risk. And here's the question, where do I start to consider risk? Actually, the answer is right from the beginning. You have to understand your product, which risk comes with your product. You have to understand your scope, your target markets, and the resources you have as a company. And to be fair, not only as a startup, when we're talking about resources, when you aim for new markets, you might need more resources, which are required because markets require, for example, can require economic operators, which you don't have at the moment in your company. But let's have a look into this one first. So what is the difference? Let's give me some examples which come with the product. We are talking about you're developing an AED, which means we need really, really tight design controls. We have a SAMD, which is what we develop for diagnosed skin. We need to manage risk around algorithms. We have limb prosthesis. In this case, we are talking about mechanical issues, biocomp. We have again an SAMD, which is embedded in a lab system. What do we have here? We are talking about integration in a system, which is about interoperability, and of course, cybersecurity is one of the big deals. Another thing is when we are talking about the scope, I was talking before about the scope. Scope doesn't mean the scope you have on your certificate scope in the sense of are you conducting activities in-house or outsourced? What are the target markets you're aiming for? So that is a consideration you should have, and I'm sure with his experience, Alexander could tell us how target markets actually impact your quality management system.
Can we go back one slide, please, Anna?
Yes, sure.
Let's stay with these examples. I think it's a good example. Basically, if we have manufacturing, for example, if we manufacture different products, we have different risks, and we should address the risks. So not every manufacturing is the same, but like it and and we want to control the manufacturing process according to the risks we have. So the first step would be to identify the risks which we have for our product or for each manufacturing step we have. And then control the process based on the risk. And so then the next question is basically what can we do to control a process? The first thing is we define the process. So we write a work instruction or we write an SOP, and we do that risk-based, which means like if the step is important, we describe it in detail. So if it has a high risk, we go into very much detail in describing it. If it's a low risk, we can just we keep the description short. So we don't do everything on the same level, but we do it risk-based. I think that's the big concept behind it. So it's and then we have the difference. Do we do it in-house or do we outsource it? If we do it in-house, it's often less risky because we're standing beside it. We're doing it ourselves. If we have it outsourced, we're not standing beside it. We're not doing it ourselves. So we have somebody else do it. So we need maybe even more detailed descriptions, more work instructions, because we're not standing beside the person who does it. So we need to have a look at where things go wrong, where it's critical that things go wrong, and then we put the focus on there. And it's not only process description, that is one way to control a process, but to verify the outcome of the process is another way of process controlling. We need to validate our process, and we need to make sure they're effective in the end, so that our product we are going to produce is safe and effective. That's the idea behind it. So risk-based, in the end means we don't put the same effort everywhere, but we put the effort where it's needed and where it's most efficient and effective. Let's go to the next slide.
Yeah.
So, and then where do our risks come from? The risks come from the product, and of course, we have regulatory requirements that govern our products. So we have like and regulatory requirements usually come through standards or laws. So we have product-specific standards we need to adhere to. But in the end, then we are free to define the controls we need. But we should define the appropriate controls we need. And we have to take, of course, into consideration what kind of economic operator we are. Are we the legal manufacturer? Are we just a contract manufacturer? Are we an importer? Are we an exporter? So European regulations have a lot of roles, which is, yeah, but like from the practical point of view, what am I responsible for? Or if I'm the legal manufacturer, if I put my name onto the product, I'm responsible for everything. If I'm just a contract manufacturer, I just do what my contract says and what the legal manufacturer says. So I bear less responsibility. So there my responsibility is to follow the procedure and the contract. Next slide, please.
Yes.
That's
So,
you.
in this case, it's just when we're talking about a risk-based approach, it's often what you see with startups, or it's my experience. You have to define the resources you need for your quality management system, or for not only for the quality management system, to set up the company, and the quality management system and quality and regulatory is part of your setup when you're a medical device company. So what I have seen often is that there's not enough budget for a quality management system, and there's not enough budget for people in the quality management system. So which means that is a point you should consider from an early stage before actually you go and talk to your investors, because obviously every startup needs investor who gives the money for it. Alexander was talking about if do I have outsourced processes? Do I have the processes in-house? It is not only that you have to consider the details of the description of the processes. It is also maybe it changes the profile you have for the people you employ. So let's say you have an in-house development, for example. The person you employ has to really work, as Alexander said, has to work on the product, right? Has to define the architecture. Let's stay with software development. Has to implement and review the code, lead the verification. Does really the whole software life cycle is in his hands. This person is really, it's not only responsible, it's doing it. Where when you have it outsourced, you have to pay really more attention, because obviously when I outsource software development, I should be sure that the company I'm outsourcing to, they know what software development is. So, which means my focus in the company then, it's more like, do I have the right stakeholder requirements in place? And did I do the translation into the software requirements or product requirements? Right. So, because when I have it in-house, it's easier, let's put it this way, even we don't like it, but it's easier to correct. But when I give it outside to a service provider, it's a different one. The other thing is that you should definitely ensure that you are part of each design review process, that you really confirm everything the service provider is releasing, and at least when your product is ready, that you are part of the release team as well. Another thing comes with this is what tools you use. Alexander, can you say maybe 3 words too? Because I think in your activity as an auditor, you see lots of tools, and lots of good tools and not so good tools.
Yeah, basically, not everything fits every company. So, and we have to basically uh, define our processes first and then put them into a tool, and not um, buy an off-the-shelf tool with off-the-shelf processes which don't fit you. And the problem with the EQMS and the tools is often that they're very um, well, they're not easy to change. If you have a Word document, everybody can change it. If you have an EQMS, nobody can change it, or you need a specialist that costs you a lot of money to fiddle around with it. So I'm um and I think the sentence on the bottom is tools should support you, but they shouldn't define your processes. Well, basically there are processes which are kind of off-the-shelf processes, a CAPA process, an internal audit process, a management review process. There is no rocket science to it, and there's really no need to reinvent the wheel. Um, but in the end, there are very specific processes for your company, and you need to actually um, define those processes first, and not be restricted or constricted by the tool to define and also be flexible in changing them. So and that's the danger with the tool. Um, Tool makes things easier, but sometimes I don't like it because it doesn't provide flexibility.
Yeah. Another one, Alexander, and that actually links to you. Maybe you can give us a summary about the lean implementation, what is based on your experience.
And yeah, that's I think um, that's the level of detail. A lot of startup companies, if you haven't done it before, they tend to go into very detail with things where the detail is not really needed. So the expertise of the consultants or the experienced people is um, to know into what level of detail to go. That's the art of quality management. The art of process description is simply to know into what level of detail you need to go, and if you and where you don't want to go. Because the worst thing is a quality system which is very detailed, but then it's outdated 4 weeks later. And nobody has the time or is willing to update it all the time. So if you go too much into detail, it's very nice, but then no, it has a lot of effort to maintain it, and nobody's usually willing to do that. And if it's too high level, it doesn't really help you. Because it's too abstract so I think the level of detail, to find the right level of detail, is the art. Um, and and I think their help from consultants is not wrong. Um,
Yeah. So that's actually what you said, and while we are talking before, find the right size, right? That is one thing, which is always a bit tricky when you start because you don't have an idea what is the right size. Try to use templates and standards. They are enough available for free, actually. I mean templates. And then another thing is which I experienced, and I don't know, maybe Alexander as well, is when you're a small team, it's really easy, let's say, to not duplicate documents. But as soon as you have, let's say, you have your department for quality and regulatory, you have the development, you have manufacturing, and so on, it's easy to duplicate, first of all, and not only duplicate documents, just information pieces. How often have I seen the intended use statement in different version in one system, different version, and where we don't have any consistency? And that's the first thing. When I do internal audits, there are some pieces where you can go and where you definitely know you find something. I think it's your experience as well, Alexander. We know what
yeah,
we're looking
absolutely.
for.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I think we should also look at like kind of quality systems like like modular programming, you have modules and they have interfaces. So you don't want half of the module repeated in the other one. So basically, we have one module that should be capsured, that should be a process, and then you should have an interface to another module. Like you have a complaint, and then if you need, and then there's the complaint handling. So you communicate with the customer, you identify the problem, but then we have a corrective action process where you improve your quality system, and then we have a reporting process. So if something needs to be reported to authorities, and that's kind of three different processes, and they can be capsuled, and they should they should not overlap. And then we have a clear responsibility, we have clear records. But if you start to mingle these things up, if you duplicate all the information in all the three processes, because but it belongs a bit together, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. The main question is, and that's probably you have while you're attending this webinar, how do I embed risk management in my daily operation? Because I have already more to do. I say on purpose more to do because I set up a quality management system. What else shall I do? So, and the point is actually we have three layers. One is, of course, you have to make the risk visible. Everyone needs to understand why that's a risk. Please don't build any more bureaucracy because we have a bit. Setting up a quality management system, not bureaucracy, but we have a bit more. And the other thing is use ownership. Make people responsible. Ownership is responsibility. And when I'm responsible, I take care. If I'm not responsible, it's easy to say, oh, sorry, it's not my problem. So, and let's have a look in how to make, for example, risk visible. One thing is, and I have an amazing example here in Christchurch, a company, mind-blowing, I have to say, not a medically wise company yet, and lots of other sectors, manufacturing, lots of other sectors, not medically wise at the moment, but so work with a team dashboard and use KPIs, key performance indicators, talk to the team and let them come up with what is the key performance indicator in your daily routine. What makes your job measurable? Use this one. Another thing is flag risk. If there is a risk, please make it a red flag in, as I say, in your daily operations, in your product, in whatsoever. Do we have an issue with a supplier? Do we have an issue with machinery? What? It doesn't matter, but flag it. And the other one is review this in meetings which are already on stake. Don't invent anything new. Say, okay, now because we decided to embed a risk-based approach. There's another meeting. Don't do this. Don't confuse people. Just use what you have and just try to improve the ones with different information. Use short weekly check-ins. When I say weekly check-ins, sorry, because we know with 13.5 and with working with authorities and notified bodies, what's not documented has never been said. That is what we need to understand. So, and that means when we have short weekly check-ins, just don't make it too hard. Record, don't even use a template, just record it and put it into your records, in your quality management records, but record it. Don't make a fuss, but record it. When we say another thing is use quick PDCA loops, which means find one example where you can, a small inefficiency, I don't know, quality check, whatsoever, in your manufacturing part, in your development part, fix it as a team and show the time you have saved, which fixing the issue. So, and another thing is what I said before, give people responsibility and as well as champion someone. Find one champion it's up to you, it's up to the company per week, per month, however, but the main part in your quality management system, they are the people who work with you, with the system. That is important. So, and the last thing we were talking about ownership, it's just, as I say, if you have your dashboard, just make it clear there was an improvement, right? What I said before, let people find their own matrix. When I'm responsible, I define what I want to do. It's easier to follow up. And I would say, when we are talking about medical devices, a big deal is if you have a win, if you have an improvement, make it visible, link it to the patient impact. And for example, I know it sounds like a bad example, but for example, you have postponed a release for a new feature because the testing showed that there was an issue. Don't make it as a lose. Make it a win. It's a win for patient because it protects the patient from, let's say, getting delayed treatment. Please try, and that's what we say, try to put findings you have not in a negative way, try to put them in a positive way. Yeah, we are not releasing the new feature. The good thing is we are helping patient.
Yeah, I have one. I really had a specific example. I had a company for which with I worked, and they did software development, and in validation things came up which should have come up in verification, and there were several issues, and the quality guy simply said, no, we're not releasing this, and they were kind of all, oh, we didn't do a good job. No, and I went there, hey, you did a perfect job. Your quality system works. There's a guy with guts and there's a guy with responsibility, and he says no. And everybody follows him because
Yeah.
the software wasn't safe, it wasn't, and they said no. So I said, you've got a perfect quality system. It works. You're protecting patients from a bad product, and that's what you want to do. Uh, and they were kind of all negative about it. Oh, the release didn't work. We didn't meet our targets. And I said, no, you showed me that you have a working quality system. And you have authority and responsibility. You have people who carry their responsibility as quality people saying no if the device is not safe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the important part. Don't put it negative when your team acts and someone is able to stand up and say no to protect. I was looking for the right word, sorry. Someone stands up and says no. That is actually, as Alexander said, your quality management system works because people take on responsibility and they follow their process. And because they followed their process, they found something didn't go well. So, and then there is an action, and the action is we are not going on a market, which is fine, which is absolutely fine. So well, we were talking about make it visible, as I say, use dashboards, and please avoid any additional meetings, records, and so on. Just use what you already have in place. If you are a startup and you just have set up your quality management system, use, I would say, the first 2 years to improve. See where can it be easier, and it's not an issue to say, that might be a bit overdue. We started and it was a bit overdue. Let's roll it back. That's never an issue. Use your change process, change your quality management system, and make it work for you, as Alexander said before. Yeah, that's Alexander, you might have some examples how to remove QMS waste, as we call it.
Yeah, I think one of the basics is document control. If you have a system where we have the current document available to people, so they don't have a local copy on their desk, on their computer, which is outdated, and we have one information in one place which is easily accessible for everybody. You can put in a link, a Excel with links to the to the quality system on people's desktops, so they will always find it. So you can have simple solutions, but like document control not working is giving you a lot of waste. Then we have systems that don't talk to each other. You read one result from a screen and you enter it into another screen or into a notebook, or you that is kind of yeah. And then we have all these complicated quality systems where we need lots of signatures, where we need have a long approval, and you can't change anything. And that's also, if you have a complicated change process and you can't easily change a procedure. If you can't change a procedure within 10 minutes, you have a problem. Because then your change process doesn't work. If there people, yeah, if you have 5 signatures on it, nobody reads it anyway. So you should have a maximum 3 signatures. 2 is enough usually for approving documents. And then, or for example, if you want to do trainings, if you have a new procedure or a change procedure, you just train the people who use it and or need it, and not everybody in the whole company. So you would have kind of a role-based training, and don't train people on procedures they never use or they never need. Of course, everybody needs to know about that we have this principle of document control, that we want to use the right document and the right document must be in the right place. But how the document control process works in detail, not everybody needs to know that. People just need to know the principle of document control, but like how it works indeed, you don't need to train everybody on the document control procedure. So yeah, and don't bore people with incredibly lots of trainings on documents they don't really need.
Yeah. That's a good point. With the approval process, I think with change, length of approvals with change processes, that is often misunderstood in companies. Sure, the standard requires you to have a change process in place, which makes sense. And I have changes in the quality management system, and I have changes with my products, obviously. And that is where we can really good play with a risk-based approach. Sit down and really with the team consider what product changes do I need the whole change board? What can be easily done by for example, by the development team, or what can be easily done by the manufacturing team without, as I say, we have to inform the notified body, we have to work with our auditor together, and so on. So that is a good point to apply a risk-based approach. Another thing is with training, Alexander, absolutely right. I've seen that, I don't know, someone writes an SOP, describe the procedure, and that is the one getting a training. Can you explain why someone who writes a procedure gets a training? It doesn't make any sense, does it? So, and the other thing, Alexander, that's a good point. Actually, when we are talking about training, we often have the question about, and I ask you as a notified body auditor, we often have the question, how do I confirm that the training was efficient? And then we have lots of trainings documentation and we have lots of tests, but does it make sense in every case? Or can I actually say, you know what, measured on my KPIs, it seems to be my people understood what they're trained on? Or do I really need a recorded, I don't know, exam, or however we call it, for every training?
And that's where the risk-based approach comes in. So if it has a risk, like if we have a manufacturing process which affects the product directly, we of course want to really make sure people understand it. So we would actually go there and watch them do it as the means of effectivity. For a paper training, so for an SOP training, we can have read and understood questions. No, we can have discussion at the end of the training. We can talk to people. If we do a classroom training, we can talk to people and see if they've understood it. And then again, it's the job of the team manager to make sure his team does a good job. So we have a continuous monitoring, and in the end, by internal audits or by yeah, we would find that our processes work. So obviously, people have understood what they're supposed to do. Yeah. So especially for training, we have different levels of questions, discussions, and even watch people do things. So
yeah. So, but that's what I find often. It's all the whole trainings stuff is yeah.
we don't need to have a written exam every time.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, exactly. So let's go back to improve our QMS with an risk-based approach. I think we have spoken today about lots of stuff, but one thing is when we said have metrics in place. When we say metrics in place, key performance indicator, and please choose the right one. For example, when we're talking about customer complaints, key performance indicator could be how long does it take for a complaint come in until it's finished. That could be a key performance indicator because it should show that how long the team takes the team to work through a complaint. Another thing is we have spoken about it, how to identify risk. Then find small problems, small changes, and go on with it. Don't go with the big ones. And I think the most important thing is you set up a quality management system, and improvement is the key, and improvement is based on risk. That is actually the point. So what are, from my point, the key takeaways? So whatever we do, everything is related to the scope of our QMS. And when I say the scope, remember, I'm not meaning the scope which comes on our quality on our certificate. That's really the scope of what are the products, what are the target markets, and so on. The next one is use a simple approach, improve over time, and don't overthink. That's what I find with internal audits a lot, that people overthink. And the next one is, and I mentioned it before in other webinars, take your time to design your QMS. When you design your QMS, don't rush into it. That is the most important part. And consider everything you need to. Alexander, something you want to add?
No, I think it's the small improvement steps that really bring you step by step to it's not that you don't have a static system. If you need to change something, just change it. And it's a lot on common sense. Basically, I think we keep forgetting that what we do is mainly common sense. So we can use common sense a lot.